Good morning. Welcome back to another live stream this morning, having some coffee with me. And today I'm not alone. I'm trying to bring in more guests. And I'm very fortunate to have Renate Jute with me this morning. Renate is a business optimization specialist. And I thought that we could talk a little bit about the changes that businesses have to implement at quite a speed at this point in time. And there's a whole and I won't say it's a disruption. I think it's actually a blessing in disguise where people have to now figure out different ways of working remotely. So it's a change for employers. It's a change for employees. And we want to talk a little bit about those kind of things as well today. And so on that note, Renate, welcome to the live show. Very, very nice to have you here.
Thank you, Francois. Thank you.
Great, and hello, thanks for taking the time. Yes. Yeah, say hi to everyone. I don't know how many everyone's there are, but let's say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, I just want to open the LinkedIn one here on my phone so I can see any comments. Good morning, Neil. Thank you. And you're here right at the start today. So welcome and thank you very much for being here. If you've got Innocent, hey, we've got a few people on LinkedIn, it seems, commenting and saying hi this morning.
Hey,
so yeah, so welcome, and please, the whole idea about these sessions is that you know what, you're not alone in this. Let's share some ideas, let's ask questions, let's see what we can answer for you. And we will also share our opinions and our views and things, and it will be great to just get some feedback from everybody to say, well, how do you feel and what do you think, etc. So we are live here on LinkedIn. We are also live here on YouTube. I always wish that I could be in two places at once. And it seems I found a way to actually do that. So brilliant stuff. Yesterday I had, so on day 5, I had Johan Oosthuizen on. So you can check out that video as well. It is on my LinkedIn profile as well as on our YouTube channel. And we spoke about a number of things, but particularly, how you can use your natural abilities and your strengths and the areas of the 5 key areas of well-being that one should focus on. And if you combine those two, how powerful that can be. And by doing that, one could, I won't say easily, it's definitely not going to be easy, but one will be able to navigate everything that we're going through at the moment and come out stronger on the other side. So go check that out if you haven't seen that. Yesterday, we also had our Zoom session. I was just blown away. The webinar was chock-a-block full. We had a number of people on YouTube watching it, and we made that available. It's a free training, so it's available. You don't have to log in anywhere. You don't have to give me your email address or anything. All we did was about an hour and a half, of which about, I think, an hour and 15 minutes was the training itself, and then 15 minutes where I answered a lot of questions that came through. So there's a lot of value in that last 15 minutes as well. So please go and check that out. I will give you the link during this session. But so Renate, welcome. Really happy to have you here. I've now known you for quite a while, and we've done a lot of stuff together actually. Yes, and we've got lots planned for the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, very excited to be able to just talk to you. You've helped me quite a bit in my business with giving advice and telling me, look at this and look at that. And sometimes I think, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then I pick up the phone and then Renate says, but why don't you just do this? And it's like, why don't I just do that? And you know how it goes. So I think that the audience is in for some great value this morning. And let's start off with, I think things have changed rapidly. Although people were expecting a lockdown to be put in place, some people were actually advocating for that. I also think the lockdown itself is the right thing at this point in time. But because the sooner we can just nip this thing in the bud, the better off we'll be. And also, if this thing gets loose and does whatever it wants, it's going to be a huge problem. So businesses had to adapt, and I don't know. It's I wonder if everybody was really prepared for this. Call it now the new way of work for now. And one of the things I also want to get into a little bit later is just asking about maybe some ideas of what we can do during these 21 days or things that we should use these 21 days for, but I'll do that at the end. So my question really to you, Renate, is, how do you see things are changing, working with your clients and everything? Have you seen, what have they done, or what do you think people should be doing in these times?
Yeah, so I think the first wave that's kicking in is a bit of panic. And what do we do next? How do we operate? The business is closed. So it really is going to be a very concerted effort for a change of how we do things and a mindset change. And also, I was actually discussing with my husband yesterday, thinking, the one thing people are not prepared for is in South Africa, we still very much have a bums in seat mentality. And what I mean with that is, unless people are in the office for 8 hours seated, and I call it the little T-Rex arms. All you see is this as they are typing on the computers.
I also have those.
I think what then happens is, if you don't see your staff like that, if you can see the eyeball shining, they're not working.
Yes.
That's going to be a very big mindset, is that people need to understand that actually you're not paying for seat warmers. You are in actual fact paying for output. And that comes straight back to the line manager, the owner of the business. If we've never instilled a mentality of, hold on, you are here to actually produce something and not get an appearance fee. And what is it that I'm needing from you? And what is my measuring criteria? If we as leaders have never put that in, we've never trained our employees, our staff, our team to actually go, hold on, guys, I know when I get to the office, first thing I'm going to do is this, if this, then that, and this is how it's going to work. And by the end, this is what I can show for it. At the end of today, when I pack my handbag, this is what I can show. If we've never empowered our teams to do that, this is going to be a really tough time for us. So I think that's going to be a very big mindset change, is to understand, okay, what is it that I actually want from my staff? And there, again, policies and procedures would come out. But maybe this is also a very good time to go and look at, okay, but who is my ideal client? What is it that I'm actually delivering? Because sometimes we get in business and organically it morphs. And when you look back 5 years down the line, what you started out with and where you are is so far removed from one another. But maybe your mindset hasn't gone with that. Your training, your upskilling, all those things have not actually gone with these changes in the business. So for me, the big thing you're going to see is that people are going to have to step up to the plate and go, okay, hold on, what is my responsibility today as a team member, as a leader, as an employee? What is expected of me today? What is the quickest, easiest, and most productive way I can get that done? Because you don't necessarily need 8 hours to do a specific task. If you've got a task and you're just used to doing it in 8 hours, now is an ideal opportunity to figure out how you can do it in a much shorter time and then hit that Netflix if that's what you need to do. Or in my case, find something to educate, find something that I can learn. I think that's going to be a very big thing, is where leaders and team members are going to look at this and go, what next? And only by having very clear communication, very clear way of instructing, and making sure that the people receiving the instruction actually understands what you're trying to say to them. So those are the kind of things. I think this is going to be a very great opportunity for us as leaders to work on our communication skills, on our compassion, and on what it really is that I want from my team.
Yep.
So I think that in a nutshell is really where I see a lot of the changes come. And one thing I'd like to put out to the audience, I was for almost, over a year, I was part of a team where I was doing business optimization. And what was great that we implemented is we started implementing these, let's call it group calls. And Francois, you can explain to us the various ways that one can do these group things. But we had one of these, and it was called, I think, Work Chat or something like that. And we would have check-ins. So what we did is we created groups, and we had the accounting group, and we had the admin team, and we had the sales team, we had the general team. And what was nice about that is that people could check in, and we actually made it, before you start rattling off about the meeting, we just did a check-in. So we did a round robin, everyone in the team would just get literally, and it's a tweet, it's not an essay. Where are you today, mindset-wise? How's your energy levels? Are you okay? And once you start creating that sense of community on a virtual system, it really is a great help, because sometimes you'd come into the team and today you're just really struggling, you're on low energy, and you say to your teammates, no, today I really am feeling it. I'm struggling today. And it's amazing how when you're part of a team and you've now created this safe space, that when one member says, I'm really, it's heavy today, everyone all of a sudden steps up to the plate. And they go, well, how can we make this better? What can we take off your plate? Not necessarily work-wise, but just how can we carry you for today? Because if we carry you today, maybe tomorrow it's someone else's turn. So I'd also really like to invite the audience to, if you have staff, if you have team, create these things where you have a check-in with your team, whether it is daily, whether it is bi-daily, however you want to do it. And where we just kick off and go, guys, how are you? Are you keeping safe? Are you keeping happy? Are you clear on what your roles are for today? Are you clear on what you need to do, how you need to do it? Are there any questions? And I think by just doing that, your team will, if you've built a good culture in your business before this tragedy, you will probably have a team that will be so happy to step up to the plate and deliver even more than they would have in the office. Because that's the thing about being in an office. When you're in an office, it's like that strength in numbers. So if everyone's drinking tea and you drink tea, it's fine. But
Yeah.
when you're working on your own at home, you've had your check-in, you've said, look, I commit, I'm going to do the following today. And by check-in later this afternoon or by check-in tomorrow morning, you want to make sure that you're not the one dropping the ball, that you're not letting your teammates down, especially in times of need like we have now.
Yeah.
So I truly believe that if you empower your teams, that you will have a very good result. Also, if you don't have a team, like what you and I have done, Francois, with our mastermind, is create a group and just have a group of people that you like and respect, where you can create a little group and just do a check-in. Just feel that you've got that support, that there are people that actually understand and that they value and respect you for your knowledge, for your input. That will also really help you through not only this, but when you want to do remote work, where you're working on your own all day, that will definitely also help.
Yeah, and you actually, because that was my next question, is like, so there's two things I wanna say is, while you were talking about some of the things, I think when you spoke about your ideal client, I think in these times you will really learn who your ideal client is.
Yeah.
I think people you thought would be your ideal client, you would learn some things and just realize that maybe they're not as ideal as I thought they would be. So you want an ideal client to be an ideal client in good and bad times. And I'm not for 1 second saying that, when things happen to them and they can't do business with you or they can't pay you, that this makes them not an ideal client. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if you look at, for me, when you look at what an ideal client is, it's 90%, I would say, maybe I'm pushing it, but let's say then 80%, let's go with Pareto. 80% is behavior, who they are as people, how they are as people, and 20% is like what they do. So, what income they earn, in what industry they work, or whatever, however you would like to classify your clients. Or the kind of clients that you like to work with. It's 80% of who they are as human beings. That is the most important. That is what identifies somebody as your ideal client or not. But anyway, so I wanted then to ask about you. But what do you do when you have a financial advisor or financial planner that works on their own? So it's maybe them and one assistant, or in a lot of cases, and I think the people that is maybe worried the most at the moment may be people who are, working completely on their own. So they are their own assistant. They sit on their own, and they they're responsible for everything. So now you've got to field all the questions, the queries, and I had like an email from a few advisors. So I'm so far behind on my email. So if you're watching this and I owe you a response, I will get to it. It's just been crazy the last week. And anyway, so but last night I was answering emails and there was a couple of emails of people asking me, around. So they're obviously battling keeping clients invested in their investments. People get so nervous that they either want to just switch to money market or they want to withdraw their money, which is fine because, they want to get rid of the risk and they just want to stop while things are falling. And the question is, how do you keep clients from doing that? And in that answer, at the end of the day, the one thing I want to get to is, and the one question I want to ask you is, should we maybe downplay or ignore the situation and say, well, what's happening now is just temporary, so let's just try and move on? Or should we deal with reality and say, well, we have a lot of challenges at the moment, there is issues? What do you think would be the best approach from that point of view for somebody, for any business owner or for any employee even? Should we just say, this too shall pass and then let's just move on? Or is there something that we should seriously look in the eye and sort of work on? What can be worst case scenario? What can be alternative scenarios? How should we approach this, do you think?
Okay. So, I'm not an investment specialist. So whether people should cash in, move over, that I can't advise on. But what I can tell you is I do think that when you act in panic, that I'm not convinced that it's going to be your better move. And here again, we're coming back to our ideal client and the relationship we've built with them, because it is a matter of trust. But also, I think everyone at the moment is, well, what's next? I don't think anyone really has an answer. So to have a knee-jerk reaction, I think is dangerous. But people deal with panic in different ways. And when you, all of a sudden, when all your businesses come to an end, there's not one single cent coming in, your expenses have not stopped, you've got a family to provide for, I can understand why people would want to maybe cash in, and why they would want to just create some sense of security with financial way. But what we cannot do is ignore the situation. But the thing is, this, for the first time in a long time, this is not just a South Africa specific problem. This is a worldwide problem that we're currently facing. So with that being said, so if you are going to move it, where's it going to be better? If you're going to move your investment, where really is it going to be better? Because it's not just about what's happening in the markets at this moment. It's also the time that it's going to take to recover after this. So when this too shall pass, there's going to be a serious recovery time. So as far as investments are concerned, like I said, I'm very cautious to comment there because it's not my field of expertise. But I do, from all my years in business, with myself also being a qualified financial planner, I have seen that knee-jerk reactions is just going to get you into trouble. Because you're jumping from the back to the fire. So that may actually be quite an interesting guest that you could bring on is an investment specialist that can maybe also give people pointers.
Yeah, and actually because I obviously had a long answer to send back to this particular person. And at the end of the day, I think that, people are going to do what they're going to do. We can give advice. If they get too scared, they're going to do the thing that makes them feel better. And whether that's the right or the wrong thing, it may be the right thing for them in that moment. We may know that is not the right thing. And this is what makes it so hard. I think at this point in time, I wanted to focus more on the behavior side of things. Should we be ignoring reality or should we acknowledge it and say, you know what, yes, things are bad. I get it. I understand. I know why you're doing this. I know why you're reacting in this way. This would be the better strategy. But if you still decide to do this, then that is up to you. And obviously, on the other hand as well, financial advisors are trying to protect their own income in the process because markets have fallen quite dramatically. So that has had an impact. And as people withdraw, it has an impact. And those withdrawals often also comes with tax implications, CGT
Yep.
implications and things as well. Although if it's fallen enough, obviously you may sit with a capital loss, unfortunately. But yeah, so I think those kind of things are all things that we're dealing with over and above now. Getting into like, oh, now I need to work remotely. Now I maybe have to have online meetings. And a lot of these meetings won't be necessarily for new business or for doing business with clients. It may be just to coach them and guide them and help them through this time. And I'm telling you now, that is definitely not a waste of time. That is the biggest investment that you can make in these times, is giving back, serving, helping them through this, letting them know that they are not alone. So that was the one thing. And that is what this show is actually all about. It is the reason why I started it, is to be here, because it's the only thing I know what to do at the moment. I have no clue what else I'm going to do. All I know is I can share knowledge and I can share ideas and I can create a platform for people to engage with one another, and sort of a by mekaar kom plek, a get together where everybody can get together for a little while, have coffee or tea, or if you think you need that mampoer or that brandewyn this early in the morning, then go for it. Whatever gets you through, it's fine. Yeah, I think from that point of view, it is really important that we stick together. And then you also then answer a question that I haven't asked yet around, because it's great if you've got a bigger business and you have a whole team of people, but when it's just you, what can you do in order to be part of something so that you don't feel alone, and that you are not just caught up with your own emotions and your own thinking and your own mindset at any point in time, for that matter. And then you spoke about the group that we created, and that was specifically what I wanted to talk about as well, is how do we get, how can you create a group like that, Renate? What kind of people should you bring into that group of yours, and how can you engage then from a practical point of view, and why do it in the first place?
Why do it in the first place? Yeah. So apparently, I've been told that people like to be around people, and they like to have all these people around them. Me, I'm quite happy to sit in an office all on my own and just work quietly. But if you want to bring people into a group, you have to, and you've often heard me say this, you have to stick to people that have the same ethics, the same moral code as you. I call it my moral compass. I very strongly stick to my moral compass, and I will not have anyone in my immediate circle that compromises that or that can tarnish a reputation. So first and foremost is, if you decide that you want to create a group of people that you trust, people that you like, people that you feel you can add value to, more than just take value from. But above all, they must share your ethics, your views, because otherwise, I don't know if it would serve any value. And it's really just a space to, like I say, if you can let your guard down and trust those people, that's where you're going to get the value. So, and also not to go, the minute you're going to go into double-digit numbers, I'm not sure that you're going to get the same value from that group. But then again, that comes from someone that prefers smaller, more intimate things. You may get groups of people that like having a bunch of people around them, and they will need a different feed, if I can call it that. They would need a different feed of energy, where I'm more on the grounded energy, and so are you, and that's why we can do like the calm chats. Other people may need a bit more hype. They may need a higher energy. So I also think it's to understand very clearly where you fit in yourself as, am I happy with bigger groups, smaller groups? What is it that I want to offer? What is it that I would like to receive? But definitely, before all else, is to make sure that these people fit into your idea of a moral compass.
Yes.
So that's been, I think that's been a huge value for people. We have, even with my students on my program, I've created like private groups, and they have found immense value from that, because they know that they're not alone in this. In some instances, people will even start doing cross business with one another, but that's not really the main aim. The main aim is to say, as business leaders, we always have to be the strong ones. We always have to make all the decisions. We have to keep the company going. And then more often than not, we also a substantial provider in our business, in our family lives. or we're on our own. And so you always have to be strong. You always have to make the decisions. You always have to know what to do next.
Yeah.
And it's not natural to always be strong or to always know the next step. And, and sometimes it's just okay to say, you know what, guys, today it's heavy. Today I actually don't know. And sometimes you don't even need someone to tell you what to do. It's just that you just wanted to have that soundboard. You just want to be able to exhale.
Exactly.
You know, in a safe space where you don't freak your staff out or where you don't freak your family out because you for once can acknowledge that today I just don't know.
Yeah, and it's okay. I mean, I felt like that, you know, it does happen. So last week, Monday, I had this, oh crap. I again had it, what was on Sunday evening, actually, I think. I can't remember when was it, but it was now recently. So you do go through these emotions and say, okay, so then you're like, I'm going to do this, and you are, you know, you're not afraid, you just do it. And then somewhere fear sets in again. And then you go to that place where, you know, you're not in the best space. And now what? And I found that by talking to you know, a couple of people in our group, one-on-one, and then also when we have our monthly meetings, and also maybe now, you know, now seeing that you've got 21 days at home, maybe you can do that more frequently.
Yes,
I just want to get, I just want to get to the comments quickly. So Neil on LinkedIn said that I found that being proactive and reaching out to clients has had a fantastic response. Clients just want a voice of reason and to know they aren't alone in the situation. So yes, being proactive, because we've got a choice. You can, and I watched a live stream the other day of Pat Flynn. So he's an American guy who builds online businesses. He's been doing it for 10 years. And he was also saying, you know, you've got one of two choices here. You can either be reactive, meaning like, oh crap, got to do this, got to sell all this stuff, this is happening, and you're just reacting to everything that's happening around you. Or you could be proactive, have a plan, execute that plan. And it doesn't even really matter how, you know, whether it was the right plan or not, or whether it was half the right plan or not. It's about taking action. It's about having a purpose. You know, and that is why I'm doing this kind of stuff. It gives me something to do. I said to someone yesterday after the Zoom session that, you know, I'm going to just focus on my content. I'm going to focus on my courses. I'm going to focus on my articles, all of those kind of things, you know, because it'll keep me busy, number one. And once this thing is over, I'm going to have the best content around, you know, because I took the time to spend the time on it. And the same thing, like, what are you going to do in this 21 days? You can't just sit and watch Netflix. You know, we've got to do something to better ourselves. We've got a chance, and I'm not saying spend the entire day learning or spend the entire day, you know, honing new skills or things. But if you can decide, listen, every second day for the morning, I'm going to do this, or even if I just do an hour a day, but we've got to take this time, because I don't know, suddenly for me, the pressure is off me, because I've always been running after clients and doing things and getting things done and chasing money and doing all of those things that everybody's doing on a normal basis. So there's no time to get to the things that I think I should be doing in my business. Now suddenly it feels like that pressure of having to show up for others all the time is now gone. And suddenly I feel like when I sit doing things for my business, I don't get anxious, worrying about like, but shouldn't I be doing that, or shouldn't I rather be doing that? So this is an ideal opportunity to work on your business and get yourself ready for when we do come out of this. And whether it'll be after 21 days or whether they extend it, it doesn't really matter what happens here after. All we know is what we know right now. I also just want to say, Tammy Jansen van Rensburg says hello. Innocent says, valid point, Renate. Let me just open this. Valid point. While your group should share your moral compass, it is good to have diversity so that you can be challenged to grow. The alternative is that you never grow or see a variety of perspectives. And I also subscribe to that, but I might also say this, that, you know, if you don't share the same values, then it is going to be very hard for us to get along, I think. It's not to say that you don't respect one another when you don't share values, but if the group, you know, one person can really, and I've seen this, I've been to part of clubs and all sorts of stuff. It takes one person to screw up a club of 100 people. So in a smaller group, even more so, I think. And you know, you want the right people in there, but You want people with independent thinking, and you want people who's not afraid to raise their opinion and to say what they want to say and what they think. I think that is more important than having just, diversity for the sake of diversity. In that sense, yeah.
So on that, I agree 100%. For a business to work successfully, you need to bring in, let's call it, opposite energies to yourself. So if you are going to be the thinker, the data, the analytical, you need someone that's more the people person, the bridge builder, to go and get more people in. So you need to have, absolutely, I agree, you need to have diversity in your business and the people you deal with. But when I come to the moral compass, it's like you said, that underlying value. For instance, if we say we will not work with unethical people that steal other clients' money or overpromise and never deliver, so we don't want to have someone in our group that will make all these promises to our clients and then never deliver, or that has no scruples and really couldn't care less about the knock-on effect their behavior will have. So I think it's just that if you can say, listen, the people in our group are, to our extent, they're ethical, they behave in this manner, it's client-centric, for argument's sake, whatever it is that you decide, well, these are the 5 non-negotiables. So then that, to me, so that's more like you said, the values. So you definitely need to have people with different personalities. People can bring so much to the table. And yes, you only stop learning when you're not open to learn. So you need to learn new things, and you learn from other people. So yeah, very valid. We need to have a diversity of people, but I still think with a very strong value system that ties up.
Yeah, definitely. Because you need both sides of the coin. You need to know, if you stand for something. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make, and it's because like once you've gotten to a point where you believe something to be true, whatever that may be in your life, and that is shaped by your experiences, it's shaped by information, etc. So when you come to believe something to be true, once you get to that point, that's what you believe, and then you stop listening to new information. You stop listening to anybody else for that matter, because out of your experience, that is what is true. And you don't think that can change. And I think that is where we miss the opportunity, is that if we don't listen to the other side of the coin, we don't listen to the opposite. I mean, like literally, so in art, I want to talk about my hobbies at some point in time as well. It may surprise people what this big guy is doing when he has time. But anyway, if you look at colors, for example, I mean, if you get the best contrast, or they even talk about complementary colors, although they're exactly opposite each other on the color wheel. In other words, it is the strongest contrast that you can get in terms of colors. So that's what you want from conversations as well. You want people with a viewpoint exactly opposite from yours. But you need to learn how to listen and to understand what it is that they're telling you, and then you can still make up your own mind. It's not to say that nobody's trying to convince anybody, but we need to listen about why they believe what they believe to be true. And once we get that, maybe there's something that we can learn from that. And maybe you can then say, maybe there's one thing that I always thought was true. Maybe it's not so true as I thought. But anyway, so I think that is important from that group's point of view. And also, I just want to make it a little bit more practical for financial planners and advisors specifically, is that if you think about, so who could be in your group? I'll give you some examples of who you could maybe add to that group of yours. So maybe a couple of your consultants that you trust and that you really work closely with, and people that, you've really got a trusted relationship with. You can even have maybe 1 or 2 of your biggest clients, or not even your biggest. It's not about the biggest clients. It's really just about those clients that you have a great relationship with and that you think can really add value to this conversation. So you can look at some clients. You can look at colleagues. You can just look at friends, and then I think something that's very, very valuable is having somebody in your group that is not in your industry, somebody that does something completely different from yourself, because they are the ones. So we're part of a mastermind as well with you, Renate, which is something separate from the group that we've got in our business. But it's this mastermind where there's 4 or 5 of us, and it's people completely different. Like nobody does the same thing, and it is amazing the conversations that take place in those things. So So, having somebody that's not in the same, we're all in the same ocean, I think, at the moment, but it's good to have somebody that's maybe in a bit of a different boat than you at the moment. So those are definitely things that will be important. Let me see quickly. Yeah, so there's nothing new there. No comments on YouTube this morning so far. If you ask a comment, or if you comment on YouTube, I can bring it up on the screen and we can answer your question. Just maybe I want to mention again, yesterday's free Zoom training is available for free on our YouTube channel. So you can go and watch the entire recording of that training. It was step by step. I've never in my life had so many messages and emails and things after the session like this one. So judging from what people are saying to me is that it was really, really valuable, and anybody can benefit from it. It's not only if you're a financial planner, but please go check it out. The link is on the screen at the moment. So you just go to my website, francoisdetoy.co.za/learn Zoom, and it will take you directly to the video. No logins, no emails, no, I don't want anything from you. It's just there. As part of that, there's also some resources that you can download. So you can also go check that out. That'll be in the description of the video on YouTube. So please go check it out. And while you're there, consider subscribing. It'll be great. I've really grown my subscribers this year. So it's something that I'm really taking seriously. Even before all of this started, that was the whole idea. So yeah. Renate, then yes, there's so much we can talk about. It's almost like, where do we stop and where do we go? I think the other question I want to ask you is around employees, and suddenly they're working remotely, so they're not working in the office anymore, as we spoke earlier. This is an adjustment for both the employer and the employee, because the employer have to let go and trust more, and the employee now has a lot more responsibility to show the employer that they can be trusted. And also the focus is now moving, and I think you alluded to that, if I can remember correctly, that the focus will now move completely away from just showing up and being at work to produce results. So whether you produce these results in an hour or whether it takes you 8 hours, whatever it is, but those are the results. If you can do it in 2 hours, go on and do your thing. And is that sort of, there's some tips about how employers and employees can maybe go about this new way of working? Is it what are the things that they need to consider? What are maybe some of the challenges that they may face in that regard? So some thoughts on that.
So the first thing is we are operating here on the assumption that everyone has Wi-Fi and everyone has laptops, because that's our world and that's what we live in. And that's a very serious thing to consider, because if your staff don't have that, you may have to get that for them. So now you are in for the money you need to spend on a laptop, and you need to get them internet, and then it's a matter of trust of that they're using this internet for work and not necessarily play. So there is that, and not only that you can now supply a laptop and Wi-Fi, but are they living in a secure enough environment where they have this? Do they even have access to electricity where they can charge these things? So that's going to be the first thing, is with the resources, do we have the resources, or are they a viable option? So say that, yes, we do have the resources, our team's already on laptops, and we already have, they can bounce off their phones for Wi-Fi, for argument's sake, and you can just contribute to the Wi-Fi cost, or they may have company phones already. So that would then at least sort out the resources. Then, like I said, I really believe that if one has a group meeting in the morning and say, guys, how are you doing? How you just a check-in, and where the leader of this team is part of this team. And then to say, okay, what is it that we need to get through today? What are the main focuses for today? How do we see ourselves doing that? And then to just give them the freedom to work, but also to train them to say, okay, guys, you've never had to do this, so here's a suggested day plan. When you get up in the morning and you've got your face on, if you are putting on a face, we start with our emails, for argument's sake. Let's just check our emails and then close that email box if you're on an industry where you don't have to have your mailbox open all the time. And then you're going to focus on this and that thing for the next 2-3 hours. And then if need be, we can check in again, or this is, but if you can very clearly give the instruction with the measurement, because often our workforce has not been allowed to self-measure. It's always been my bum is in the seat, my boss tells me to do this, and then the boss will tell me if it's right or wrong at the end. But they've never been told, how do I measure as I go along? How do I do this temperature test to see that what I'm doing is actually on the right path, that I haven't veered off course? So you would, maybe the first part would be to really just create a culture. Because I think also an Innocent would be able to pipe up here on, because she works with a lot of culture. But I do think if you've never created a culture of education, of self-improvement, of taking responsibility, of finding an answer, then those teams will struggle a bit more than others maybe, because this is now going to be a whole new thing. And you may want to spend the first 2 or 3 days just teaching people about those things and just guiding them along on, okay, well, how do we do a day plan? Because also, as much as we want to say, oh, but these people must now work at home, all of a sudden you're now sharing a space, mom and dad for the most part, with 2.5 children and the barking dogs and the hardy-dogs flying overhead. And all of a sudden you've got all these disruptions. And if you're not fortunate enough to have your own office space or a separate space where you can go and sit and work, what are you doing? You try and close your bedroom door and sit and work on your bed, because trying to work in the dining room, it's not working because the children are watching TV or they're busy killing one another. It's also this whole thing of, okay, they're just going to work at home. Just understand that we are actually now entering people's living rooms. So there is that to contend with. I think all the children and the animals will start acting out after about 3 days of isolation, if we're lucky enough for it to last that long. So that is also a problematic situation. So you may have to say, okay, hold on. If both spouses are at home, and you can take turns to say, okay, you can work for 4 hours and I take the kids, and also to share the tasks, because it's not just about work. It's about the morale of that staff member. It is the energy at which they're coming at this, because isolation will definitely impact people differently. People that are not used to being isolated, people that are used to being in offices that are around people all the time, will really take strain with us. And then people go, yeah, but now you're with your family. Well, that's not necessarily the 24 hours a day entertainment that you're after.
Yeah, sorry if I can interrupt you quickly. So I'm just thinking now, that's like, this is like, you know, some spouses are also going to find out what it's like to really be together every single minute of every day, you know, for better or worse. Remember that part when that happens, eh?
Yeah. That's the thing, because I mean, you love them a lot, because you see them from 7 in the evening till 10 o'clock when they go to bed, and then in the morning you've seen them for an hour, and that's why you can really love this family. Now you're in one another's space all the time. And my heart goes out to also families where there's only a single parent. Where does that person, and often if you think about it, our staff in our offices, whether it's a single dad or a single mom is irrelevant. That person is now the sole provider for their family. They are, in many cases, but they're also now the main source of entertainment for this family. So now you're trying to work and the kid's going, mommy, 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 mommy. And of course, if you don't reply, it'll continue doing mommy, mommy. So I think also just to just spare a thought for that, and to understand that, yes, a work day may be in your mind 8 hours, but if we can guide people and teach people on how to maybe, okay, we know you need to get through the spreadsheet. We know that you need to concentrate to do that. We know that you need some space to do it. What is it that we can do to either help you do it easier? How can we collaborate? Those kind of things will also come in very importantly. It's just to, as a leader in a business, just take a step back and understand that as a leader in a business, you would have maybe set yourself up to have a dedicated office space where you can work, where you can shut the door, and when that door's closed, people know, don't disturb.
Yes.
Many people don't have that. They do not have that luxury. And I think we really need to be cognizant of that fact as well.
Okay, cool. So I want to bring up a comment from Kobus Klein over on YouTube. Good morning, Kobus. Nice to see you here. Obviously, going back to the conversation we had earlier, he says that capital losses is purely paper losses if units are not sold. And that's the important thing, you know. It's like owning a building. sometimes that building's value may go down, it will go up, but the building still stays the building. Only once sold, it becomes real losses. We have to educate on principles during crisis times, which you are doing well. Thanks, Kobus. It's also, I think a case of, so if you combine this, so it's actually a thing of being proactive, like Neil said, and then also a thing of education. And I think this highlights the importance for us to actually be doing this on an ongoing basis with our clients, so that when these things happen, I think one of the nice things that will come out of this at the end of the day is like we're going to have a very powerful story to tell. And I actually saw a post last night, and I'll see if I can bring it up on the screen quickly. I don't think I'll be able to because it's on LinkedIn, and because we're streaming live, I don't want to take that chance. But there was a post on there by a guy called Luke Howard. He's a financial advisor at PSG. And he did this post where he was talking about, if you look at what he was basically saying is that the start is always different, the end is always the same. So that was very interesting to me. The start is always different, the end is always the same. And what he did was he listed all of the crashes. So from 19 freaking Futsak all the way to 2008, and he would give the reason why that crash happened, and that every single time it was different. And then what he did was he said then all of the other, like every time it recovered. And that's the thing. So the outcome has always been the same. We've always recovered. It's only the reason for this. And this is the one thing I said to that advisor in the email as well, is that it's the first time that an illness or a virus like this is really creating the problems that we're seeing. And so from that point of view, I think it's important to remember that whatever happens, if you stay the course and you don't sell out, even if you move to money market, you are selling units. So it's not a good idea for any investor to do that. So there's a big, and it's going to take a lot of energy from us to help clients through this and to make sure that they don't make those mistakes. But there are going to be some of them where this is just too much for them, and they will definitely move on. All right, Kobus, thank you very much for that question. I really appreciate it. It's a great comment, and so it's not really a question, it was more of a comment. Then over on LinkedIn, Innocent also commented. She says, agreed. That's not based on our last conversation. If you don't allow your team to be independent and empowered in the office, the transition is very difficult. The important thing along with culture is leadership style. Yeah, Innocent, you're really raising a very important point there. And this is where the lead by example thing is going to come in. And I think some leaders may not have a clue about what to do, and it's understandable because they've never had to deal with this. Their whole business model was centered around people sit in our office or they do whatever they do there, and suddenly they have to manage people, or they have to lead people rather from a remote place. And I can just imagine what people are going through at the moment and how challenging that is, and they're going to try things. And I think that's the most important thing. Don't be afraid to try things. We're so often afraid to just try something. It can either work or it can't, or it can work halfway. So I think there's one or three outcomes, but you learn from it. And the more it doesn't work, the more you learn. So the better you can do it. And don't be afraid to do those things. And also, I think get feedback, how people are experiencing it. Now checking in with people are more important than ever. Definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
And that would also bring again that compassion. Just also meet them where they are right now. Meet them at their level at this stage.
Yeah, very important. Alrighty. Let me just think if there's anything else I would like to ask you, Renate. I think I just want to maybe quickly talk about. So you created a program last year already, which you run a pilot on, which was very successful, called Business Solutions Simplified. I don't know if you just want to tell us just quickly what this program is about.
Sure, thank you. Yes, I created this program because for many, many years I've been in the accounting industry, and I realized that most of my clients, really their problems were to do with the financial management components of their businesses and the human resources. But when I refer to the human resources, as Innocent always points out to me, I'm talking about the transactional side of HR, which means the what must be in place? What does the contract look like? How do we manage the leave? What does a job specification really look like? So it's really about more the data of things. It's not about the emotional side of HR per se, but because you do the transactional and because you get your systems in place and because you have policies and procedures and everyone has a clear idea on what happens, it certainly does impact the emotional side of HR. And when it comes to the financial management side, it's more things about budgeting, what budgets do for you, how to set up a very simple budget, how to read management accounts, how to ensure that you get your money when money is due, and also how are you a decent payer? What are your responsibilities? What are your steps? I also go into tax, not on how to do your own tax. The purpose of this program is certainly not to replace any HR specialist. It's not to replace your accountant. It's to give the business owner a clearer understanding of how things work, what they can do better, how they can optimize their business really to work better. So, I mean, if I can just talk to maybe some of the examples, because maybe that will give us a clear indication of what it's about. I've had some of my students, the one student's business partner had passed away, and she said to me she had literally been paralyzed by fear of doing things wrong, so she just did nothing. And for a year, her business came to a shutdown. And once she did the program with me, and we have live Q&As as well, she said to me that the most valuable thing for her was that I was able to remove this fear and this paralysis for her. Now, one would think, but this is HR and financial management. How does this even tie in? But just by her feeling empowered with this knowledge she now had, I cannot tell you how all of a sudden her business took off. She was starting to see people. She was creating new business for herself from a marketing point of view, which was nothing what my program had to do with. But it was just creating that sense of surety. Another one of my clients had taken over his business from his parents. So the business has been going for 35 years. He took over the business 9 years before we got together on the program. And literally, he said to me within the first month, it was the first time in 9 years he'd ever had a budget or management accounts. We had a chat, and I went through his management accounts with him. We could point out certain challenges and problem situations in the business. And by just doing that, he managed to free up cash flow to actually take his business online, which was not something he had ever thought of doing. He was able to free up cash from stuff that was basically, I call it dead cash in stock, that he wasn't moving. So it was just these impacts. Other people that were on the course said to me that all of a sudden, since they've implemented the necessary HR solutions that I gave them in the program, their productivity had gone up tremendously. The staff attendance had gone up tremendously. It even impacted the culture because all of a sudden there was this calmer sense about the people. So all this feedback I received, I was so surprised by, because I'm such a data and analytical person that I go, well, surely if you have the data, it can help. But I actually didn't understand the extent to which it helped these people. And that was why I started it, is I really just want to reach business owners and make it easier for them. Especially now, we all realize business is tough. It can be really, really tough. And if I can do my little bit to just remove anxiety, to remove uncertainty, to make things easier, that was really my aim of it. So, yeah, thanks for that introduction, Francois.
No, cool. Yeah, no, I think it's a very powerful program, so you can check it out. Just the details around it, and something that you may consider in the future, or if you work with business clients that's struggling with HR aspects in their business, or they are struggling with financial aspects in their business in terms of running and managing it effectively, then that's something maybe you can point them in that direction in the future. Obviously, when all of this is over, but go check it out in the meantime. It's at learn.noblegroup.co.za/BSS for Business Solutions Simplified. And with that, Renate, thank you very much for being here today. I really appreciate it. It's been a nice conversation. I think I can go for another 2 hours, really, if we chat and just ask questions and do that stuff. I love it. Maybe just as an end off for me as well, just again, please remember the the Zoom training. So I'll put it on the screen quickly again. So you can do, it's completely free. Go check it out. It's at francoisdetour.co.za/learn Zoom. There's also some free downloads and things that you can have that you can use as part of your meetings. There's a whole PDF guide that takes you step by step through the entire process, from getting signed up to scheduling meetings to setting up Zoom. Everything that you want for Zoom is in there. And you're more than welcome to share that and this link with anybody that you think need help if they want to have virtual meetings. It's also about more than just Zoom. We also talk about how to run an effective virtual meeting. So I think there's a whole lot of value in that session. And then just lastly, I don't usually this is not a platform for us to sell anything, but I do want to make you aware of our online refresher. So it's a financial planning refresher. We're applying for the CPD tomorrow. Actually, the application will go in, so we will be waiting, but there will be CPD. I'm pretty sure, confident. All our programs, I mean, by now we know how to when something will be approved for CPD or not. So we are very confident that it will be. It's a 4-hour session. It's a live session. It will not be recorded. The live sessions are not meant to be available afterwards. They're only live. So if you can check it out, we've dropped the fees quite considerably. So it's only 350 Rand per person to actually attend this. So there's the advert for this. So it's on the 8th of April, 2020. It's a Tuesday. It's in 2 weeks' time. And as I said, it's 350 Rand per person. If you are an Ignite member, it'll only be 300 Rand. It's a 4-hour session. So we start at 9 and we end at 1. We'll have breaks in between and everything, just like a normal live event in person would be. So we're going to run it that way. But yeah, come and experience that with us. We're going to run through an entire client journey. So from the time they get engaged up all the way until somebody passes away. And also with a few kinks in between when things go wrong unexpectedly, etc. So that's what we're going to be looking at in this particular session. So for that, if you want to go and check out all the details, everything that you need in terms of that, you can go check out francoisdetour.co.za/online refresher. All the details are there, and you can book directly on the site. As I said, we've really dropped the prices, so please go check it out. We need your support in this, but also if you look at our other training, we're really providing a lot of value that will stand you in good stead. And this is a great time to actually work on your knowledge and make sure that you sharpen that blade like a ninja warrior, so that when things come right, you are ready to go blazing and do some great business and give great advice to your clients. So on that note, let me just switch that off. Renate, I want to thank you very, very much. Hey, Eugene, I see you popped in. Eugene Lebo, morning, guys. Trust you are well. Let me see quickly if he's asking a question. Morning, guys. Trust you are well. What I am facing at the moment is clients getting mad for their poor investment performance. In as much as we educate them about how investment work, they still don't understand. Others will even say, I was never told that I'm investing in a pension, and there will be times that markets perform well, when they're in a company fund. I also feel like education for retirement investment is needed from HR of company to whoever administer the employee funds, because really corporate clients don't have knowledge of this. The other question is wanting to know why clients call us or communicate with us when their investments are not performing and when they're making good returns. They never even talk to us and thanking us for choosing good portfolios. Is this a human thing or what? So, Eugene, so I can sort of pick up your frustration, and I also understand your frustration. Many people feel like this, and I think another question that we can maybe ask is, what can you do from, what can we learn from this, and how can we position the things differently for when and if this happens again? Because these clients obviously, and this is a thing, I think a lot of clients are also ignorant, when we do try and educate them, and you do try and tell them during the times, as you say, we never learn when it's going well. I think that's a life rule. So whenever it's going well with you, or when it's going well with the economy, there's no lessons to be learned. There's nothing. It's just going well. Nobody cares. Nobody's learning. It's when things go wrong like now that people take note and that they really spend time to learn. But it is just about, And what you're saying about, so I did a lot of presentations on behalf of pension funds to employers or to employees at corporates, etc., to explain to them how their pension fund works. So there's definitely a need for that. And that's something that you can put together and go and offer, at least to the funds that you look after, if you do have funds, or it is something where you can just go to employers and say, what, let us come in and educate your workforce about how their pension works, what benefits they've got. I mean, the advisor that's implemented that fund is supposed to do that. And also the provider of that fund. So if that fund is with whoever is the administrator or the provider of that fund should also be offering that. And often I know we've gone to HRs and they're not always interested. So everybody needs to work together on this. This isn't just my fault or your fault or the employee's fault, or this is really about, everybody needing to say, listen, there is a need for education. We need to understand how things happen. And I can guarantee you, Eugene, we can educate them all we want. When that happens to them for the first time, they're going to get a big fright like they're getting now. And it's a natural human behavior not to take responsibility for whatever happens. We want to put the blame with someone else. And unfortunately, in this case, financial advisors are really at the receiving end of that. But I can also tell you that I've worked with so many advisors in my life that, there are always that group where clients don't phone, they understand. But it's usually where there's, your newer clients that haven't been with you that long. They will definitely maybe that trust or that you haven't had enough time to educate them enough. And one meeting telling them about everything is not enough. We have to do it on an ongoing basis. But where we've got advisors who settled and they've walked a long path with their clients, they've educated them, they reassure them all the time, they remind them all the time, they tend to get much fewer calls than the ones who don't. And that I can tell you from experience. I was in a practice where that was the case. Clients get monthly feedback on their investments. A lot of people say, no, you shouldn't. You only look at your investment once. Yes, that's cool. But send monthly feedback, because what does that do? One, it shows the client that you are actually looking at their stuff, and that gives them comfort. But if they need to phone you and say, listen, what's happening to my investment? I don't hear anything from you. I don't know what's going on. That's the problem. So being proactive when you are doing investments for clients and running investments, managing investments on behalf of clients, being proactive is the best course of action, in my opinion. And there are systems out there like Seed Analytics. Seed Analytics allows you to do monthly feedback to your clients. It's a push of a button. Well, it can take you a little bit longer, but let's say it takes 10 minutes versus you having to manually do all those things. And also it will give the client an overview of all of the investments that they've got, that is with you at least. It costs you extra money, but the peace of mind that buys and the opportunities it opens for you. We've seen how often you send that monthly statement and people say, oh, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. I've been thinking about phoning you and whatever. So you stay top of mind by doing that, and I think the people that's been sending monthly feedback, I don't know, I would like to hear what people are saying, what advisors' experiences are in terms of this, but the ones that's been giving monthly feedback, they have the least queries and things at the moment. People who is not giving feedback or only do it once a year, probably they're getting more requests and queries and things from clients at the moment. It's an assumption. I don't know. I would like to hear whether that is the case. But anyway, so that's the story. Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, I would just like to pop in here and say, you know what? Also, what's important is we were talking about this is an ideal time to create content. If you have a person that is forever posting content, and it doesn't have to be your own content that you went and created. All these investment houses do post content. If you just share that content on and you put your 2 cents worth on what is it that you think here, or like, please read this article that sets out how this works or what this means, or if you're creating content or sharing content and your clients know that you are always posting this content, whether they read it or not, at some stage they're going to read it, some stage they may not read it, but what is important is you're building a trust factor. Because if you're dealing with this person and every month, like you say, he gets feedback on his investments, and once or twice a month there's a little article floating, it can be a LinkedIn post, it can be a Facebook post, however you communicate with your clients, it can be via newsletter. But if you are creating or sharing even content, what it does is it almost creates a sense of security and certainty where your client goes, now, I know Francois keeps posting these things. I've seen it come through. I've read some of it. And he's got this. He's got the knowledge. He's got my back. That will also create a bit of certainty. A lot of clients currently are lashing out because of fear and uncertainty. And like you said, Francois, they're going to reach to the first guy that's within reach. And that happens to be the financial planner. Because guess what? They're not going to be able to get through to the big investment house. There's no one there that's going to stand up and take it and explain it to them. They got the product from you. So you are the last man standing when it comes there. So I think also by creating content or sharing content and just familiarizing yourself with content, but also for your clients to see that you actually know what you're talking about, will go a long way.
Definitely. And I want to end off then, because we're over an hour now, but I just want to say as well, there's a lot of advisors that were not creating content and were not communicating, and now they want to do it in this time of crisis. It's almost too late. I don't say don't. You have to communicate. You have to show them that you're there. You have to give tips. But if you consistently create content and you consistently communicate, it makes events like this a lot easier to navigate with your clients. Anyway, that's on a final note. I really want to thank everybody that's been commenting. Eugene, thank you for that, those questions and those comments. Thank you very, very much. I hope that you have a fantastic day further, and that everything goes well with you. And Renate, to you, thanks again for being here. I appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 8 a.m. And I think there's a whole host of things that we can talk about. So keep an eye on my LinkedIn feed and my WhatsApp. I will let you know what we're talking about tomorrow. And have a fantastic weekend. All the best. Stay safe. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Francois. Thanks, audience. Keep well. Have a lovely day.
Cheers.
Cheers.